There's tons of scrap metal in communities right across the north. Communities like yours. The three main economic benefits of scrap metal recycling are job creation. Laborers are needed to sort, bale, and ship scrap metal. Training. Local workers will receive training and work experience in scrap metal and recycled materials. Aesthetics. Communities will be safer and more attractive for tourism. The most important reason to recycle scrap metal is to preserve the integrity of the North and make our communities safer places to live and work. Canada's metal recycling employs 15,000 people. Recycled metal salvaged accounts for 22 million tons of recycled metal a year, with a value of $3 billion. Canada trades on world markets with more than 100 countries. Scrap metal recycling involves collecting the recyclables. It's preferable to have the scrap pile located close to where it will be loaded. Scrap should be sorted into ferrous and non-ferrous metals. Ferrous metal is scrap that is made up of iron and steel, like cars and appliances. Any form of metal that is magnetic is considered ferrous and of less value than non-ferrous metals. Ferrous metal, like this steel plating, has a magnetic attraction, whereas aluminum, there's no magnetic attraction. Therefore, aluminum is non-ferrous, steel plate is ferrous. Non-ferrous metals are non-magnetic, aluminum, copper, lead, etc., and worth 6 to 8 times more than ferrous metals. You must also create a pile of white goods containing refrigerants to be decommissioned. Chlorofluorocarbons are only recovered by a certified technician. There are a number of metals that are not accepted as metal scrap. They are alkaline rechargeable batteries, closed or sealed containers, computer equipment, fire extinguishers, home electronics, medical equipment, photocopiers, pressurized tanks, unmarked containers, unpunctured gas tanks in vehicles, any oil, sludge or tar, CFCs, Freon, and other ODS, lead, mercury, radioactive components, asbestos, tires, and other non-metallic products. You must work safely, recognizing and identifying hazardous materials like these. Compressed gas container, or these old tanks. Any hazardous materials must be separated until a certified technician can decommission them. When compacting and preparing scrap for shipping, derelict cars or other scrap can be used as containers for smaller pieces of scrap metal. Old machinery and mining equipment is cut up into smaller pieces using torches. Once collected in communities on the Hudson's Bay, scrap metal is sent south to Churchill, a major staging area and hub for recycled materials. Rail cars haul the material south, where it is picked up and trucked to the processing facilities. It is possible in some areas to backhaul by including a load of recycling on empty trucks or barges returning to their point of origin. The final destination for scrap metal from the north is a metal processor in Manitoba, formerly known as Mandeck Metals. Gerardo Ameristeel is a subsidiary of Manitoba Rolling Mills, both of which are located in Selkirk. Gerardo Ameristeel operates a steel mill which melts down the scrap collected from northern communities that is processed. Gerardo Ameristeel is one of the largest steel companies in North America. The corporation consists of 5 major steel-making components. Gerardo Ameristeel operates a steel rolling mill in Selkirk with a production capacity of 660,000 tons annually. This plant is a major employer in the area and recycles scrap metal from communities throughout the north. Gerardo Ameristeel has established a second company, formerly known as Mandeck Metals, to purchase and process the scrap metal used in the rolling mill operation. One of the ways to reduce the cost of recycling scrap metal is to coordinate the cleanup of several communities at the same time. Project management is crucial to the success of scrap metal recycling. Dale Kiesman is the manager of the Public Works Department for the town of Churchill.
My name is Dale Kiesman, the manager of Public Works with the town of Churchill. The staging area of Churchill is the closest location to the northern communities that are trying to clean up their communities, that we have access to the rail line and brought into Churchill. From there to be processed to a point that it's transferable to places like Mandeck and other steel producers. Ideally, you'd like everything sorted. The scrap from the white goods, aluminum, the better that everything can be sorted, the better we can ship to market. For a car, for instance, the more weight that you can get into a car. So if you've got loose scrap, fill up the car, get as much material into a car, or tanks, empty drums, old fuel drums that have been cleaned out such that you can compact and put more stuff into them. The more weight you can attain in getting that weight up, you have to get the weight up to make it feasible to get the scrap out of the communities. The processors that receive scrap have to segregate the copper from the aluminum, the casts, and the more that can be done prior to shipping, the easier it is for the environmental concerns and cleaning up the north and making it not just much more aesthetically pleasing, but environmentally conscious in cleaning up the north.
This video and on-site workplace training in all aspects of scrap metal handling are the responsibilities of the contractor and must include the following: identification of metals, proper and safe procedures for handling scrap metal, proper preparation of derelict vehicles, hazardous materials handling procedures, and first aid training and emergency procedures. The first step in any project is safety. These boots are CSA approved. Gloves must be made of leather or cowhide and CSA approved. A CSA approved hard hat must be worn on site at all times. No amount of time saving or cost saving is worth the safety and health of the workers involved. Identifying potential safety and health hazards is key to preventing accidents and injuries. Workplace hazards can be divided into two categories: health hazards, safety hazards. A health hazard is any activity, substance, or situation that could potentially hurt someone. There are 5 types: chemical hazards, battery acid, PCBs and solvents; biological hazards, bacteria, viruses, and molds; physical agents, light, noise, heat, radiation, and electric currents; work design, improper lifting, repetitive strain injuries; and harassment and violence. Slippery surfaces and tripping hazards, working at heights, fire and explosion, falling materials, moving parts of machinery, vehicles, and, of course, the danger of polar bears.
It's your responsibility as an employee to prepare for most workplace situations. If you're not trained to handle a specific hazardous material, don't. Leave that work to a certified technician to deal with.
You must check out the work area first, before beginning any work. Be aware of hazards you might encounter, such as slippery surfaces or objects you might trip over. When working with fuel containers or tanks of any kind, they must be treated and handled with care. You must drain the tank into a recovery container.
Emergencies can happen at any time. It's important to have a plan in place to deal with emergency situations. Remember, all staff on site must have first aid training as part of their workplace training program.
In any accident situation, the most senior staff member is responsible for contacting local emergency personnel and administering appropriate first aid. Once the injured worker is stabilized and help is on the way, the employer or their representative must notify workplace safety using one of the 2 numbers listed on the screen. In Nunavut, workplace accidents must be reported to the Workers' Compensation Board of the Northwest Territories and Nunavut. The toll-free number is 1-800-661-0792. The local number is 867-873-0792. In Manitoba, workplace accidents must be reported to Manitoba Labour, Workplace Health and Safety. The toll-free number is 1-800-282-8069. In Winnipeg, 204-945-6848. The most senior staff member, or representative acting on behalf of the employer, is responsible for making sure that the accident scene is secure. Important information must be gathered, including location, date, and time of the accident, the name and telephone number of the person reporting the accident, a brief description of the accident, identifying the contaminant and its origin or owner, and action that the report writer has taken or intends to take.
Whether you're out on the water or on the land, working in a scrap metal recycling project, safety is of the utmost importance. You must remember your WHMIS safety procedures and know your material data sheets. It's your responsibility to identify, label, and follow WHMIS procedures when handling any potentially hazardous scrap metal you may encounter in the workplace.